What's up, y'all? Hope y'all have had an amazing Sunday. I hope all the time that I've been away, you all have been accomplishing the things that y'all been trying to accomplish. Just to get started here, we're on one, two, three, four, five, six different platforms. Shout out to every platform that you're actually watching from. For those that are new to my live platform, look, y'all, I go by Zabo 103. It's been a minute since I been on these lives. Um, I was a little under the weather for a few days, and started to feel a little bit better. So I felt like, hey, look, let me pop back on here and see what we got going on. Um, Still trying to recover a little bit, but I feel all right. Look, no matter which platform you watch me for, no matter if it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, um, I don't know what platform everybody's watching for, but let me say this. My lives that I get on y'all, I get on these lives and I give out information that typically people pay for free. So these lives, I would just suggest if you want them, take notes. And not just take notes to have it for appreciate your family, for talking points and debates. Take notes and apply. I promise y'all, your future self will thank you. So since I know it's been a minute since I've been on the live, and I know we got a ton of new people on the live. Let me go back into introducing myself again. I go by Zabo 103. I'm the dude that get on these live platforms and give out information that you normally would pay for free. Um, there is no click the link in the bio. There is no course coming. It's just straight up and down free information. It just is what it is. I really want to put something in your ear, make you think, period. Um, as I talk through these different things that you're going to hear about over the next 30 to 45 minutes, however long I'm on today, let me just say this. I am not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. If you do have a financial advisor, shout out to you. Ask yourself the question: is your financial advisor financially free? I am. Ask yourself this other question. If you have a wealth manager, I'm not a wealth manager, right? I'm not a wealth manager. And being that I'm not a wealth manager, let me say this when I say this. Ask yourself, has your wealth manager built any form of generational wealth? I have. So look, y'all, I say these things to say this. You can learn something from everyone. And not only can you learn something from everyone, the things that you see that are legit, that you can benefit from, start applying this stuff, y'all. We're in 2024. We're in the month of February. A whole month has already went by. Time is going to tick, regardless if you do something with the information or not. So don't bang your head against the wall talking about, hey, I wish I would have knew this. Hey, I wish I would have knew that. Don't do that. It doesn't help you anyway. Start applying the things that you consistently say you wish you would have knew. Start doing things with that information and start making a difference in your life. With that being said, let's get on into this, y'all. Because again, I know it's been a minute. I'm a little excited right now from jumping back on. I see a lot of people. That some of my day ones in here. See a lot of new people too. But let me start out by saying this. If you're new to my live, put a 1 in the chat. I just want to see where we need to go. Do we need to pick off where we left off, or do we need to kind of backtrack a little bit? If you are some of my day ones on here, put a 2 in the chat. We got a couple of ones on, I guess this is TikTok on this side. I'm not sure what platform that is back there. But okay. So one of the things that we will start from some of the people that are newer here. We always like to start with some of our new people, our older people, people that's been here for a while. What I will say is this: every time I share information on these live platforms, don't stop taking notes, because every time I say something, you're gonna pick up something different. It just is what it is, and repetition is the key. So let me start by saying this. If you're new to my live, for all my new people in my live and some of my people that are here, and you're currently in your rat race, right? And you're trying to figure out how to get out of your rat race. The easiest way to do that is simply this. Close your eyes, dream. Ask yourself a couple of questions. If you had all the resources in the world, what would you be doing today? And that's a real question. I know it may seem a little cliche, but it's very important that you take yourself down that rabbit hole. And the reason why it's important that you take yourself down that rabbit hole is going to open up your brain, not your mind, your brain. The average person don't even use 5% of it. You want to start tapping into more percentages of your brain power so that you can start going in these places where you've never been before. So it's vitally important that you think about what you would be doing if you had all the resources that you ever need. If money was not an option, if it was not a limitation, it wasn't an issue for you at all, what would you be doing? That's the real question you need to ask yourself. And as you start to formulate all these things, I'll be on somebody's island sipping on whatever I'm sipping on. I'll be traveling the world. I'll make sure my family had this, or we had that, or I'll make sure whatever it is, that's what you need to put in your mind. Once you have thought about and dreamed on how you can make those things transpire, then the next thing you need to do is start researching how to make it happen. The scariest part about this journey that I'm talking about, once you can think about it, it can become a reality. And that's the scary part about it, because there's really only two things on this planet: illegal and legal. If it's illegal, you don't want to do it. If it's legal, ain't nothing stopping you from doing it. And that's the part that's scary. So when you have those moments and you say things like, man, I see that this person has this, I wish I could do something like that. Someday I'll be able to do this. Well, that day is the day. If somebody has done something you're trying to do, there's nothing stopping you from doing it as long as it's legal. I hope you understand that. But while you're researching how to make these things happen, let your research run wild. Don't let it be limitation. Because the reality of it is, you don't lack money, you lack information, and you lack taking action with the information that you gather. So whatever information that you gather from your research that you gathering, just go on down that rabbit hole. Go on as far as down that rabbit hole that will allow you to go. Because what you're gonna find out is you can do this stuff. You're gonna find out this stuff is way easier than you could have ever imagined. You wouldn't have been able to told me as a person from Bank of America, working there for 20 years as an executive without a college degree, that I would be able to leave Bank of America when I made my yearly salary in a month. You would have never made me believe that. You would have never made me believe that I wasn't going to be doing some form of day trading, some form of crypto, some form of driving box trucks. What all these trend things that are out here that most people tell you you have to do if you want to change your financial life, You would have made me believe that that's what it would have had to be. Because I wouldn't understand how to do anything else, especially with the limited education. I started paying attention, y'all, to what the banks were doing, and I started paying attention to what the wealthy people were doing. And it blew my mind, y'all. I'm telling you, it blew my mind. I was I was so blown away that it became very scary. I'm talking about scary to the point where I kept saying to myself, there's no way I'm going to be able to do these things because I don't have enough capital to do these things. It was mind blowing. I was the person at Bank of America that used to, I was responsible for 459 people directly and indirectly. We had to generate $720 million a year for the bank, $60 million a month. I don't think people really can wrap their brain around that. I was responsible for a small business credit card collection side of the house from Bank of America. So when you would hear the loss number at Bank of America, I was the person reporting the numbers to the streets. Why am I sharing that right now? That's a skill set that I got from the bank that helped me go into business. Your job right now is teaching you business. You just got to pay attention. When I realized, hey, I can do what I'm doing for Bank of America for myself, it was game over. I already wasn't, I felt like I wasn't being paid enough, even though I was well above that number that everybody brag about, 6 figures a year. I was amazingly above that number at a job. Man, you couldn't tell me nothing. I thought I was getting it. Today, I understand it's pennies. I understand making 100 grand a year is nothing. You're actually still broke. It's $11.41 an hour before taxes because most people refuse to actually do the real math. So, what am I saying? I'm saying dream big, and then start researching how to make it happen. Start figuring out what's really important. And when you start to figure out what's really important, your why is going to pull you towards what you need to be doing. Let me give you an example. If you think about the reason why you go to your jobs tomorrow, Monday, right? You're going to think about the reason why you're going to work. It's a beautiful thing. You're going to work because you got to put a roof over your head and your family head, right? The people that you say you care about and love the most. You got to put food on the table, clothes on people's back, right? You got to do these things. That's why you're doing it. Have you ever asked yourself, the people, your why, what they really want from you? The people that care about and love you, they don't want no money from you. Y'all do understand this stuff, right? They don't care if you gave them a dime. They just want your time. The people that care about and love you the most, the only thing they want is from you is your time. That's it. They just want your time. So you'll go give your time to your job 40, 50, 60 hours a week and take the time away. Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm recovering. Take your time away from the people that all they want is your time. This is why it's important to dream. This is why it's important to take whatever's in your head that you're dreaming about and researching and making it happen. Because whatever that it is going to put you in a position to give that time back to the people that you say you care about and love the most. That's the real gift. How do you do that? Easy. Stop listening to people and entities on everything that they say you should be doing. Stop paying attention to what they say. These people and entities, their whole job is to keep you as a consumer. I'm going to say that again. If I'm a business owner and I'm the target and I'm looking for you to inspire you to do something, what am I going to spend my time inspiring you to do? Shop. Be a consumer. That's the gift. Why would they give you any advice to put you in a position so that you're not consuming with them? Think about it. When you at your job and you go to work and you talk to a consumer, a customer, and you're getting funds from a consumer or a customer, what are you doing with that money? You're giving it to your job. You're doing it over 10 business days. You're getting this fraction of what you gave your job back in a form of a direct deposit. You just get a fraction of it back. And you're happy because you got money in the bank. Because you think the bank is a holding facility. I understand it's a lending institution. Most people can't wrap their brain around what I just said. And when they do, they're going to realize how powerful it is. Think about what I just said for a second. You go to work every day. You get money from a consumer. And you, the consumer, give it to your job. And you do it for 10 business days. And on the 10th business day, you get a fraction of it back. We're in the month of February. Now, I know what's happening at Bank of America right now. They're about to get ready to start giving out performance reviews. That's what's about to happen. Possibly bonus if it's in the budget for all the money that y'all done gave them the previous year. Every job's doing this stuff, y'all. You're ready to put on fellas, you're putting on your suit and your tie every day now. Ladies, you put on your business suits. Why? Because your manager is going to call you in the office to talk about your performance for the previous year. And when they give you that 2%, that 3% raise, you're going to ask them why they didn't give you 6%. Why they didn't give you 7%. Did we have the possibility to get 10%? Why you didn't give me 10%? You fighting for pennies. I don't think people understand that. You don't believe me? Pull out your Palm Pilot right now. You make $100,000 a year. What's 10% of $100,000? Somebody do the math for me. $10,000. Divide that by 12. It ain't even come on, y'all. It ain't even $1,000 a month. You ain't getting no 10% raise unless you apply for another job and you got another job somewhere else. Most likely it's 3%. You telling me I done gave you all this money the previous year. I make $100,000 a year. You gonna give me a 3% raise. I'm gonna get $3,000 for the whole entire year. And when I divide that over 12, it ain't that about $200 some odd dollars a month. Less than about $100 some dollars every pay period. If you break it down by the hours, it's pennies. But you want the extra pennies. And that's before tax. Think about what I'm sharing, y'all. But every day, like clockwork, you're gonna go in. You're gonna ask for that vacation or that PTO. You're gonna ask, hey, can I take off this? I'm a little underwhelmed. I need some sick time. Think about what I'm sharing. If you late 5 times, in a rolling 6 months, you've been there for 15, 20 years. If you late for 30 minutes over 5 times, you ain't got no job. Think about what I'm sharing. So when you get this direct deposit, you happy. You're ecstatic. A person like me that understands your bank is not a holding facility. I understand it's a lending institution. Guess what I'm gonna do? Go to the bank and ask for your money, and the bank gonna lend it to me because they're a lending institution. And the person that understands this, like I understand it, guess what they're gonna do with your money? They're gonna buy soap. They're gonna buy toilet paper. They're gonna buy paper towels, plates, forks, spoons, napkins, pigs, chickens, cows in bulk. And then turn around and sell it right back to you for 5 times what it's worth using your money. That's the truth. That's the truth. Nobody hears that. Nobody hears that at all. And that's the part that becomes very scary, y'all. Because you got up this morning. Have you ate breakfast yet? What did you have? Did you have an omelet? Where do you think that egg came from? What you have for lunch? You know you're supposed to eat 3 times a day. At least that's what they tell you, consumer. No one hears this stuff, y'all. So what am I saying? I'm saying if you're trying to get out of your rat race, think, do some research, and then take some action. I hear these people tell people all the time, hey, go do this for 15, 20, 30, 40 years, and you'll have your first $1 million by this time frame. And that's cool, right? If that's the route you're taking, that's the route you're taking. Have fun. I like to tell people, I don't know everything, but if I got to take 10 plus years to do something, I want to put myself in a position where I never have to work for nobody else for the rest of my life. I don't think people understand that. So I started my journey and I made the decision that I will always work for my last name and not my first. Period. It's not going to be a situation where that I can honestly say to myself that I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to be happy to work for somebody else's last name. It doesn't make sense. I'm going to go work for my last name and not my first. So I started looking at not the people that we normally look at when we decide to go on these journeys. I want to do what this rapper did. I want to do what this uh, actress or actor or celebrity did. I want to do this. No, I stopped looking at them because I understand they all are influencers. They're influencing you to do something with your money. And I started looking at the people and the entities that ain't trying to influence nobody. And I stopped listening to what they were even saying, and I started doing what they were doing. And I started realizing that, hey, if I want to be a great investor of my money, I need to invest in things that's going to get me a guaranteed return on investment. I'm not talking about, I can invest this strategy and I'm going to get money back from it. No, I'm talking about regardless of what I do, I'm going to get me a guaranteed return on investment. So I started looking at what the banks do. I started looking at what the wealthy people do, not what they say, what they do. And I came up with two things. It was very consistent across both of these people and entities portfolio. It was scary. And those two things were policies and properties. And when I say policies, I'm talking about whole life insurance policies, y'all. When I say properties, I'm talking about land. Let me explain. We all have heard the saying, your health is your wealth. We've heard it. Nobody ever finished the sentence, though. Your health is your wealth. The healthier you are, the bigger the insurance policy you can get. I don't think people understand that. We also heard people talk about land, but we always hear what they say when they say about land, right? You know, I'm gonna get me some rental properties. I'm gonna go get these rental properties and I'm gonna be straight. I'm gonna get me an apartment complex. Man, I'm gonna go get me a gas station. I'm gonna have me a little shopping center. We always think we gotta build something on it. And I tell people all the time, met my pops when I was, really got to know him when I was 21. And my dead best friend, who don't look like me, has had wealth in his family for over 400 years. And the one thing he said to me that has stuck with me forever, you make money when you buy land, not when you sell it. Why? They not making no more. It's one of the only things on this planet that only goes up in value and don't go up and down. So wait, you mean to tell me I can buy a piece of land and it's guaranteed to go up in value and never go down? So when I hear people say things about, hey, I'm looking at one piece of land, but I can't afford it. You ain't ever gonna be able to afford it. It's only going up. They ain't making no more. And that's just one stream. You know how much they pay for hunting land? Do you know how much money they pay for hunting land? I don't think people understand that. You know how much money they pay you to have a solar panel farm? Do you get it? You know how much countries are paying to buy out all your pecan trees if you got a pecan field? Forget this stuff you got on your back. Forget that. I don't think people understand. So when I say things like, I'm doing what the bank's doing, what the wealthy people do, I figured out by doing those two things, I ain't ever got to really work for nobody else's last name, only my own. And we're not talking about small plots of land, y'all. That be the other piece that people run into. Man, I went and got me 2 acres, man. Great. That's a good start. Make that happen. Keep making it happen. I'm talking about big plots of land. Man, you're going to hit with all crazy taxes. You have no idea. I share with folks that I own 242 and a half acres of land. I don't care what state you live in today. I don't care what state you live in today. If you have a mortgage, which by the way, you don't own your home, you're just renting to own at this point. That's the truth. If you got a mortgage and you paying property taxes through your mortgage, or you got property tax you paying outside of your mortgage, or you own your home outright and you paying property taxes, I can guarantee you paying more money than a person that got 10 plus acres of land. I can almost guarantee it. And that's the part that's scary. Most people wouldn't even begin to even wrap their brain around it because there's so much stuff out here that we just not used to seeing. And you can really afford land. For people that's been on my lives from day one, we done went through every state across America, all the way from California, Michigan, New York, all the way down to Florida, Texas, all the way back up to Oregon. Every state across America, you can find, on average, an acre of land for $5,000 or less. It just is what it is in every state. You just got to repurpose your money from all the garbage that you're spending your money on and start repurposing it to things that are going to get you a guaranteed return on investment. That's the real gift. So as I sit here right now and I share these things, you got to ask yourself the question, if you haven't already, how do I get started? How do I get started? Oh yeah, it's gonna be in the middle of nowhere, 100%. How did I get started? How do I get started with this stuff? I'm gonna do this real quick, and then I want y'all to. We're gonna have a little after party. Let me just let that stroll up real quick. But let me do this real quick, right? Grab a pen. This stuff will be uploaded to YouTube at Zabo 103 for all the platforms that's outside of YouTube. It will be up on Zabo 103, so you'll be able to catch it, the replay over there. But let me grab a pen, and we're gonna talk through it. We're gonna talk through it. Because this stuff ain't that expensive, y'all. And when you really making moves, what you think is expensive, it's a drop in a bucket. It's a drop in the bucket, y'all. All right, so let's go through this. First thing first, gotta change your mindset. You gotta change your mindset. It just is what it is. And when I say you gotta change your mindset, not this whole cliche thing about you gotta focus on your dreams. You gotta manifest these things. Not, listen, later for all that. What's important to you? Do you want to stay in your rat race? Because if you do, stay down. Ain't nobody coming to save you, no way. I promise you it's okay. The world is still going to turn. If you decide that, hey, I hear it, but I can't do this right now. I got to do this, I got to do that. You're 100% right. Do you. But the one thing that I know for a fact, time is going to tick. Again, we are in the second month of 2024. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that can blink their eyes right now and remember 2020 like it was yesterday. I could be wrong. That was 4 years ago. Uh-oh. If you haven't figured it out. Here's what you need to do, people. Regardless of how you feel, regardless of how much money you make, how much money you don't make, it does not matter. You're living off of it. So even if you saying you live in paycheck to paycheck right now, you're living off of it. And you have the audacity to be in a place of privilege because you're on a cell phone, which happens to be smart. You're in a place of privilege, boys and girls. So whatever dollar amount you make, it does not matter. You're living off of it. You make enough. You got to repurpose your money from the BS that you're spending your money on to things that's going to get you a return on investment. Those three things are simple. Basic living expenses, the biggest whole life insurance policy you can afford, and land. What does that mean? How does that break down? 60% of your money that you bring home after taxes need to be going to basic living expenses. 25% need to be going to the biggest whole life insurance policy you can afford. The last 15% is going to land. It will change your life forever. As you're doing this process over time, you're going to come up with other ways to do different things because everybody's different. What you may have aspirations of doing may be different from me, and vice versa. But those three things got to be consistent. It's just the truth. How does that break down in dollar amount? Try to make 100 grand a year. Let's do it off the magical $100,000 a year, even though we know the medium is only $57,000 a year. But we ain't gonna talk about that. We don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. Either way, you're still broke. That's the truth. So if you make 100 grand a year, you bring home somewhere around about $67,000 after taxes. Out of that $65,000, it's still going to three places, boys and girls. 40,000 going into basic living expenses. 40. That's about $3,500 a month. Not a penny more, not a penny less. Here's a moment that you probably want to pause if you make that exact number. That means you got $25,000 left over that you've been spending on BS. Whatever your number is, that other 40% that's left over, just know you've been spending your money on BS. That's the truth. And before somebody say, no, my number is a little bit higher than that. No, it's because you've overextended yourself. 60% of your bring home money need to be in basic living expenses. It's going to be a little bit more. My number could be off. I'm just throwing out random numbers right now. Hopefully y'all caught that. All right. Out of that 65,000, 40,000 went into basic living expenses. That's going to leave you at $25,000. 15 grand of that $25,000 is going to the biggest whole life insurance policy you can afford. Forget what that dollar amount is. It need to go into the biggest whole life insurance policy you can afford. That full $15,000 a year. That's going to leave you with about 10 grand. With that 10 grand you got left, that's going to go to 2 acres of land. And before somebody say, I can't even buy 1 acre of land with $10,000. I know. That's why I said 2. You're not buying land in the city. You can't afford it. You never have. You never will. The clock already done started ticking since they done told us by 2030 you will own nothing and you will love it. Ain't no laws came out saying that you can't own nothing in 2030. Hope you got it. So you will be purchasing 2 acres of land, minimally 45 minutes out from a major city. Why are you doing that? Because right now, today, if you know somebody that work in the city and they own their land or they own their home, they minimally live 35 minutes out from any major city. So adding 10 more minutes to it will get you to 5 acres or less per acre. Come on, boys and girls. Think. I'm in Georgia. I'm in Georgia. If you work in the city of Atlanta and you own your home and you live in Georgia and you work in the city, you easily making a 45-minute drive. Don't get me to start about the traffic. Think about what I'm saying. Don't get me to start about the traffic. We hear it every time, especially when you're new to Georgia. Everybody been telling they from Atlanta, but they live in Ellenwood. They live in Douglasville, Alpharetta, Milton, Sugarloaf, Brazelton, Kennesaw. I can keep going. I'm sure it's like that in every state. You can't afford to live in the city, not owning nothing. You might have a condo with a mortgage on it. You still don't own it. I don't think people get that. 2 acres of land, boys and girls, with that 10 grand. You're going to do this process for the next 10 years. Why? Because you're putting yourself in a position where you will never have to work for anybody else for the rest of your life. That's what's scary about this. That's what's scary about what I'm sharing right now. I'm not telling you to work on your job for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years and then retire and then realize after 2 years of being retired, now you got to go back to Walmart and work as a greeter. That's not what I'm telling you to do. You know how many people retire and come out of retirement? Think about what I'm saying. 100% it costs to get the land surveyed. 100%. But it's pennies. It's pennies. Imagine you got a business buying land. That's just one of your businesses that you got going. And you happen to go buy some land and you go get it surveyed and it costs you a whopping $200, $300, $400, $500 to get it surveyed for whatever type of survey you're trying to do. Just imagine that for a second. You're writing off the $400, $500 for the survey. It's the cost of doing business. It just became a business expense. Think. Think. You're going to do this process for 10 years. Let's recap, boys and girls, because I don't know that people have done the math yet. In 10 years, if you buy 2 acres every single year, you put 15 grand into the biggest whole life insurance policy that you can afford. That's what I'm sharing right now, family. In 10 years, you will own 20 acres of land. Notice I ain't saying nothing about going to get no loan. Notice I ain't said nothing about your credit. Notice that I ain't said none of that. I'm saying with your basic income that you bring home every single pay period, your money is going to be divided going into 3 places only: basic living expenses, the biggest whole life insurance policy you can afford, and land. Think about what I just said. In 10 years, you will own 20 acres of land. In 10 years. So if you would have did this in 2020, which everybody on these lives can remember right now, that was 4 years ago. You'll have 6 years left. You're not doing nothing with the land. You can't afford it. So watch this. In 10 years, you'll own 20 acres of land. In 10 years, that whole life insurance policy you've been putting 15 grand a year in, you will have, along with the compound interest that you've been billing in that whole life insurance policy, which is tax-free. Uh-oh. You're going to tap into that living benefit on your whole life insurance policy. You're going to borrow against it. In 10 years, you will have acquired $200,000 minimally that you can borrow from, tax-free, and paying yourself back with interest. Uh-oh. I don't think nobody heard what I just said. So let me say this again. If I'm taking my money and I'm putting my money into basic living expenses, the biggest whole life insurance policy I can afford, in land. 100 grand is what I claim I make. 60,000, 65,000, what I'm bringing home after taxes. 40,000 going into basic living expenses. 15,000 going into the biggest whole life insurance policy I can afford, and 10,000 buying 2 acres of land every single year. I will have acquired 20 acres of land within 10 years, and I have $200,000 minimally that I can borrow against. I don't think people heard that. Still ain't did the math yet? All right, let me keep going. What am I doing with that 200 grand? I'm going to take me simply $200,000, and I'm going to take a half an acre of the 20 acres that I just acquired. I own it. And I'm going to build me a modern duplex. As a person that then built 29 homes in the 52 home subdivision that we're currently building out right now, I know it takes half of the value of a home to build a property. So if a property is worth 400 grand, it'll cost you about 200, probably a little bit less, but we'll call it 200 to be extreme. And before somebody say the cost of material that then went up, so has the price of homes. They went up together. They didn't go up by themselves, y'all. And these material costs are actually down since 2022, if we want to be technical. So if I take 200 grand and go build me a modern duplex, guess what's going to happen? It's only half an acre. I got a modern duplex worth 400 grand. Ask yourself this question. In whatever major city you live in currently today, if, if, if you go and find you a new construction apartment, 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath, how much is the rent? That's a real question. I just put in the chat. In any major city that you live in right now, 45 minutes out from the city, right now today, how much is a rent on a 3 bedroom, 2.5 new construction apartment right now today? I'll wait. I'm listening. 1,500. Beautiful. 2,500. And I know every state gonna be different. 3,500, 2,000, 1,800 to 2,500. Easily 2 grand, right? What is it gonna be in 10 years? Even in these states where somebody said 1,500, what is it gonna be in 10 years? In 10 years, that new construction, 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath in 10 years, what's gonna be the rent? Even on the low end, 2,500 bucks. Think about what I'm saying, y'all. Think about that. Y'all still ain't did the math yet? All right, I'll keep going. So what am I do? I got this modern duplex, new construction. I'm gonna put a tenant on both sides. This tenant gonna pay me 2,500. That tenant gonna pay me 2,500. What I'm gonna do after that? Go to the bank and refinance this property. Cash it out. The property minimum worth 400 grand. I can easily get me an 80% loan on that because I'm an investor. They gonna want 20% down, 80 grand. Good thing I got it in equity. That's a $320,000 mortgage that's coming to you. What does that mean? I got my $200,000 back that it took me to build a property, plus an extra $120,000 tax free that the tenant's paying back. What's the mortgage on 320? Easily 2,500. One of my tenants paying that. The other 2,500 is free and clear right now. Why? Ain't taxed yet. Why? I got to get a return on capital first. You know, the $80,000 in equity that I put down. Now I'm sitting on $320,000 tax free that my tenant's paying back, and an extra $2,500 a month. You still don't see how you ain't ever gonna work for nobody else for the rest of your life? Still ain't figured it out yet? No? Let me keep going. What I'm gonna do after that? I got 19 and a half more acres left. I'm only gonna do this 39 more times. So you telling me if I do this 40 times and I'm getting an extra $120,000 every time I do it, I don't know, simple math, $4.8 million tax free that I just got. You ain't ever making this type of money on your job. Ever. Your business ain't never gonna see this type of money. It hasn't. It's just the truth. I don't think people get it. Notice I ain't saying nothing about no savings. Notice I ain't saying your credit gotta be through the roof. Notice I ain't saying you gotta borrow all this money from your family and friends. I'm talking about from paycheck to paycheck. I don't think people just caught what I just said. Oh, I forgot. There's more. So that $4.8 million you just got tax free. Remember that $2,500 every time you're doing it, you getting that 40 times too. It ain't taxed until you get a return on capital first. So if I'm getting $2,500 extra 40 times, that's an extra 100 grand a month. What's scary about this, y'all, is I just shared this information with y'all in less than 5 minutes for free. For free. But most people don't hear that. Most people will, nope, I can do this. I can do that. Sure, you can do whatever you want to do. Have fun. But when I started looking at what the banks do, and I started looking at what the wealthy people do, it ain't nothing I've seen that can outperform it, y'all. That's just me. And I done tried a lot of stuff. And that's the part that's scary, y'all. It depends on what it is at that time, family. The interest rate could be anything, but it doesn't matter. You're paying it back to yourself, remember? That's the part that's scary. That's the part that's really scary because while you taking that money out your policy that you borrowed again, you paying yourself back with interest. And that whole life insurance policy, I'm be honest with you, y'all, I ain't seen nothing like it. It's one of the only things that I've seen on this planet. I could be wrong. That gains compound interest tax free. What? Huh? How is that possible? Why don't nobody share this stuff? Because we need you to be consumers. That's the truth. That's the truth. No, not infinity banking. Not even close. See, with the infinity banking piece of it, y'all, the infinity banking piece of it, right? And it's a good process. Don't get me wrong if you do it the right way. But people go in with the idea of I'm not buying a home in my it, through the bank. I'm gonna buy it through my own bank, which is my insurance policy. I'm not buying a car through a bank and getting financed through a bank. I'm gonna buy it through my own insurance policy. See, poor people, right? Poor people truly believe that the purpose of money is to pay bills. No shade to nobody. It's just the truth. Landowners understand the purpose of money is only to make money. You need the bank too. Let me give you an example. When you go down that rabbit hole of doing the whole life insurance policy and the infinity or velocity banking tactics, which I think can work, you're operating with what's called your fully vested amount of money. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a beautiful concept, y'all. But when you understand the power of other people money, or what I would call the power of zero, it's game over. Imagine if you had the ability to go take $1 million out of your policy. I hear people talk about index fund all the time, but the fees, nobody shares about the fees. So I would just say get with the broker and ask them, give you an illustration and kind of project what the fees are going to be. It's a scary thought. But imagine you got $1 million fully vested in your insurance policy, whatever policy it is, right? You can go and take from that policy up to that dollar amount, right? Whatever you fully vested. If you're a person that got $1 million in a policy fully vested that you have access to, I gotta imagine that not only is your personal credit good, but your business credit gotta be good too. I gotta imagine that you generate some real type revenue, right? If you got $1 million fully vested, right? You gotta be able to generate some revenue, which means that you are credit worthy for the most part. Now the difference is you go to your policy, ain't no credit involved. You're just taking it, right? Let's go down a rabbit hole. Let's say, for the sake of argument, you got a business that's generating $1 million a year. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, you got a policy that's fully vested in $1 million. And you need to go do something. And you need access to that $1 million. I'm not going to my policy taking that $1 million. It doesn't make logical sense. Not when my company just generated $1 million and I can go to the bank and the bank will loan me 5 to 6 times what my business generated. Think about that for a second. So I much rather go get $5 million from the bank. Think about what I just said. Now, when I go get that $5 million from the bank, I might decide to do a different policy with it. I may go run it through there. Don't get hit with a MEC though. But I could take that $5 million and generate $20 million off of that $5 million. You get it? Well, what about the interest rate the bank gonna charge you? I don't care, because that $5 million ain't taxed. You get it? Let's say they charge me 50% interest rate, and they're gonna charge me $2.5 million on that money. I get to write off $2.5 million of that interest. So if I go generate $20 million, what ain't taxed is what? 7.5 million. Why not just use the business fund? Because it's better to use other people's money. You take your money that you make and you put it into real assets. See, the difference is this: your business conduct business, your business gonna have expenses, and then your business gonna have taxes. The money that's left over after the taxes and expenses only goes to two places. You don't ever put your money into a system, right? You don't ever put your money into a system where you're gonna potentially get money back. You want to get a guaranteed return on your investment. A percent of that money left over goes into your trust checking account. Why? Because your trust got bills, you don't. The rest of the money left over is going to zero by December 31st buying land. That's how that works, y'all. But the money that you earn, that's your leverage to go get more money from the bank. So if you have good business credit, you can get millions. Sure. I think you may be new to my live family, and that's cool. We're talking about something bigger than money. That's the part that's scary about this. We're talking about something way bigger than money. We're talking about time. The reason why you start this journey is to get time back so you can spend it with the people that you care about and love the most. I don't know much of everything, but I can tell you in 2023, I only worked 57 hours for the full physical year. I don't know much of anything. I can tell you my target for working this year is 0 hours, and I haven't worked at all this year. I don't know how many people can do that. I don't know how many people can get on a live every single day, all day long, just any time of the day, whenever they want to do and say whatever they want to do, and give information constantly for free. Think about what I'm sharing. I hear these processes that these wealthy people have told you. I'm not doing nothing they say. I hear these processes these banks have told you. I ain't doing nothing they say. I do what they do. I don't think people understand that. Ah, I shut down a little bit over here, y'all. So we're gonna have to convene the after party right now over to other things. So I appreciate y'all tapping in on all the other platforms, Instagram and TikTok. Stick by. I'm gonna stay here with y'all. But for my other platforms, y'all can join me at on IG or TikTok at Zabo103. Y'all be good and have fun being bad, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.